He fooled me, used me, and lied, and this is my revenge. When I, 30F, met Dan, 43M, in March 2021, he portrayed himself as this grounded, independent man. He was a convert to Islam. He had his own flat, a car, the latest Apple products, and had just returned from studying in Egypt for 2 years. It was a carefully curated image. Spiritual, self-sufficient, and mature. I thought I'd found someone solid. We got married Islamically within a few weeks. But within months, I found myself footing the bill for everything, meals, outings. I couldn't go to his flat because he had a male lodger and needed the additional income to travel to Scotland to see his parents and be a dutiful son. He encouraged me to take out rented accommodation on my name, with the stipulation that he would foot the rent. This was far from the truth, and he had every excuse under the sun. His parents in Scotland needed support. His remote employer was not paying him on time. His bills for his own place were too much due to cost of living increases, etc. To shut me up, he would contribute 50 to 100 pounds here and there, then conveniently make me cover other things to balance out. He spoke about his car needing repairs, and I gave him 400 pounds, thinking I was being a supportive wife. In December 2021, we even went on a holiday to my home country of the Seychelles, paid for by me. I was determined to put reality behind me for the duration of the holiday and have a good time, and that we did. I saw my country through a different lens of luxury, and we discussed plans of spending more time here in this lush greenery and by the golden sandy beaches. One thing about Dan is that he knows how to live it up on someone else's money. He is never overt with what he wants, but will suggest things we could both do that will be enjoyable. And he will be the perfect, most attentive man to your needs, bringing you water, cook you breakfast, put your shoes on, make engaging, charming small talk with relatives, ask if you need to slow down and rest, and more. Anyway, so 2 days after we got back to the UK, he drops the biggest bombshell. He has 2 other wives, religious, not legal, one in Scotland and one in Egypt. I was stunned. I felt sick. I couldn't believe someone could lie so easily and so deeply. Caveat: I am not against polygyny, so long as it's done with clear intentions of supporting women, and with transparency and consent of all involved. 10 days later, one of them, Nadia F50, contacted me. She told me he was a serial cheater who was behind a religious mask, and that he had a long pattern of using women. I wanted to believe she was lying, but deep down I knew something wasn't right. It turned out the lifestyle he flaunted when we met, the flat, the car, the tech, wasn't his doing at all. It was her money. Nadia was a civil servant, and she was the one paying rent on both his London and Scotland flats, covering all the bills, and she owned the car he drove. She had even given him a credit card with a £2,000 limit. He had been living off her income and making himself appear self-made. And worse, Nadia was a lodger living in a flat he said was his. I kept trying to make peace with the situation, despite paying £1,000 plus a month in rent and bills on my own. He wasn't helping. Eventually, I reached a breaking point. It was more of an implosion than an explosion. Emotionally detached and almost out of my own body, I quietly analyzed him. He was a man who triangulated women and extracted from them as much as he could to enable himself to live a soft life. I perceived how there was no love for me at all from his end, and his manipulation gave me the ick that I could not unsee. And so I set a trap. I told him I planned to move back to the Seychelles and build a new life. I started taking actions towards this. Started talking about my dreams of living luxuriously, and used examples of things we did on holiday there to build a picture of what life would be. I was also the picture of acceptance, discussing how he would need to be here in dreary England for half the year to be with his other wife, as that's what is Islamically fair. I stopped reacting. I stopped clinging. I made space for myself and emotionally detached. And that's when he started chasing me. Nadia couldn't handle it. She became increasingly anxious and threatened to harm herself if he left her. But he started pulling away from her more and more. She would send him increasingly more money to lure him back. He would say such terrible things about her. I am certain that with her, he would say terrible things about me. Eventually, she walked in on us one day at his flat and had a breakdown. I had told him that if he wanted me to be a co-wife, This meant that any property in his name was equally shared, and to inform her of this, I guess he didn't. She stormed in and called me a whore over the phone to his mom. Then he simultaneously held my hand and asked if I needed help to leave him. She was a husk of a person. This is what 7 years of hope and longing and disappointment, so much disappointment, had done to her. She packed up her stuff and left. She stole a few of his things in process, but to be fair, she did buy them. And to this day, he is not over that. And me? I stayed, but I set new terms. I wasn't paying rent or bills anymore. This was his flat, his responsibility. I reminded him of his Islamic obligations as a husband and told him I'd walk away if he couldn't meet them. His face was a picture of shock, panic, and horror. He had lost Nadia, his prize cash cow. He had made the wrong move. He had misread my intentions completely. He was so focused on his own deception that he did not expect to be deceived. From that point on, he was the one paying the bills, with the hopes that he would rectify his image in my eyes, hopes that we will be moving to Seychelles soon, and he will be living off my dime, as he had originally planned. Whenever he would portray himself as a victim, I remained quiet as he spoke, never reacting, always positive. The balance of power had shifted, quietly, strategically, on my terms. When he was at his lowest low, I left. If I could go back, I'd tell myself, and anyone reading this, people-pleasing can feel like love or compromise, but sometimes it's a form of self-abandonment. I thought I was being supportive, but really, I was afraid of not being chosen, not being loved. Financial abuse doesn't always look loud or obvious. It's not your fault if you trusted someone who manipulated that trust. You can reclaim your power, not through revenge, but through clarity, boundaries, and emotional control. When you're no longer reactionary, the whole dynamic changes. And most of all, don't lose yourself trying to save someone who was never invested in you. I've learned to be kind to myself, to stop blaming myself, to stop apologizing for my softness. Revenge doesn't always look like rage. Sometimes it's healing in full view of the one who tried to break you, and letting them live with the fact that you're thriving without them. And Nadia, girl, if you're reading this, I hope you are well and healed and whole again. TLDR, IF30, married M43. Thinking he was a self-made man. He had a flat, a car, the latest tech, and claimed to have just returned from studying in Egypt. Turns out his other secret wife, F50, the civil servant, was funding everything. She paid for both his London and Scotland flats, bills, and car, and even gave him a credit card with a £2,000 limit. I unknowingly took on his financial burdens too, paying for rent, holidays, repairs, and more. He finally admitted to having 2 other wives. I slowly detached, stood my ground, and reversed the power dynamic, emotionally and financially. Now, I'm healing, rebuilding, and no longer blaming myself for the abuse.